I'm Robert Firpo Cappiello, Editor-in-Chief at Hospitality Technology. My guest is Skip Kimpel, CIO of 4R Restaurant Group and host of the Tech Chef podcast. Skip, welcome to HT Next.
Robert, thank you so much for having me here today.
We're psyched to talk to you about what hotels can learn from restaurants. Now, of course, in 2020, due to the pandemic, restaurants had to pivot like never before into new business models, new revenue streams, just new ways of thinking. Of course, restaurants have a kind of built-in flexibility that not all hotels have, but we believe there are some firm lessons that hotels can learn. And one of them that you've mentioned to me is that restaurants had to really start thinking beyond the conventional brand as to what they can do. What are your thoughts about that?
So I think when it comes down to restaurants, some of the more successful ones during the COVID period, especially right out of the gate, they were willing to make changes that varied from their normal brand. For instance, Four Rivers Restaurant Group, we're a barbecue brand. However, we were selling lasagna, we were selling groceries. We listened to what the customer wanted, and we also listened to the industry in regards to what the guest and the customer was looking for, things that were hard to get and things that they were trying to provide their family with. And we're a very community-based organization to begin with. And we really, as a leadership group, we decided, we're going to do whatever it takes to survive so that we have an employment for our team members beyond COVID. And brand aside, obviously we try to keep some of our brand involved, but we did whatever it took to survive. And I think that flexibility is so important. I know brands in particular that refuse to move away from their brand, and I think that hurt them in the long run.
Now, one example that you've shared with me, and I love it, a technology that's available to restaurants, but could also be very useful to hotels is food locker technology. And describe to our HT Next audience how food lockers could potentially solve a problem for hotel operators.
Well, I think food lockers were kind of trending prior to COVID. However, with the contactless scenario that consumers are demanding, food lockers gave us another opportunity not to only provide a more contactless experience for our consumers, but also to provide that safety for our team members and kind of streamline our entire off-premise strategy. Food lockers basically go within our restaurants where the restaurant places the order within the food locker when it's placed. The guest comes in, they've been notified via text message, use a QR code, whatever it is, whatever technology. There's several companies out there with different types of technologies. The consumer walks up to the pods or the food locker, either scans a QR code or hits open my food locker. Their door opens up, they pull out their food. So there's a very limited chain of custody. And food lockers are very interesting because there's heated food lockers, as you've seen in, let's say, Little Caesars Pizza. If you've ever frequented a Little Caesars, there's cooled food lockers, and there's also ambient food lockers. And they're replacing the concept of cubbies or what you might experience or find at a Panera Bread, for instance. So one of the ROIs of a food locker for a restaurant is spoilage and accidental taking of somebody else's order. There might be two Daves or two Roberts that walk into the restaurant. They grab the wrong bag because they see Robert on there, but they didn't realize there's two Roberts. And the end result is a loss for the restaurant, and they have to remake the food. Now, how this relates to food lockers is I've been talking to those companies frequently lately, and they see a big use case scenario for the hotels where a branded, completely wrapped food locker could sit either in the lobby, they could sit on the floors for two purposes. One, it makes it easier for third-party delivery companies such as an Uber Eats, a Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, whatever it is, to be able to come in, drop off the food, notify the guest, hey, your food is ready, it's in the locker. The guest comes down, gets their food. Number two, it gives the opportunity for the hotel to reopen their kitchens. If they're closed now because of a concern of a social distancing aspect or a restriction within their state, it gives them the opportunity to prepare that food, place that food in a food locker, or if it's a generalized area or even if it's per floor, it gives the hotel the opportunity to get that kitchen back up and running and provide an additional revenue source, again, for that hotel.
Love it. And now, as you're talking about restaurant kitchens and thinking outside the box, I'm reminded of the ghost kitchen model that some restaurants and some properties have been using. That's a real potential opportunity for underutilized hotel kitchens, is it not?
It is. I think there is a tremendous opportunity by using a hotel kitchen, either through a virtual kitchen or a ghost kitchen, to create additional revenue for the hotels. And let me explain that. A ghost kitchen is literally a full-fledged kitchen where a restaurant can come into your kitchen and literally take over your kitchen. Maybe you provide them, there's some agreement between you and that restaurant where you're providing the facilities for that restaurant to cook and being able to serve food delivery only model out of your kitchen. So at least you're getting some type of revenue coming in for that space that you have reserved in your hotel. Number two, where I think there's a massive opportunity for hotels right now, is the concept of virtual kitchens, where you can launch a brand. Let's say, I'll just pick a brand. Hilton Hotels decides to launch the wing air experience, where they do a wing brand. Now that wing brand is completely isolated from the hotel. The average consumer out there has no idea that it's in relation to Hilton. They just want wings. And what that allows you to do is to be able to open this kitchen, be able to provide it to third-party marketplaces, and be able to create, once again, a revenue stream out of that kitchen that's sitting dead at the time. Now, I think that one of the main advantages of the hotels doing this is they are demographically located in a great area, because the success of virtual kitchens is all about having a location that is densely populated and conducive to third-party delivery. And most hotels are in that situation, either downtown or they're in a populated area. So I think there is a massive opportunity here for hotels to jump on this concept and either go down the ghost kitchen route or the virtual kitchen route. I know internally we have discussed about what other restaurants are potentially closed down that we could actually utilize their kitchen. We have not internally thought about hotels and using, what hotel kitchens are shut down. Where can we go? What partners do we know out there that we can go to bat with and really help them and help us all at the same time? I believe it's a complete win-win scenario for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're going to wrap up this conversation on that note, because I want the hoteliers who are listening to get thinking about creative ways of using their kitchens. I love it. Skip Kimpel, CIO of 4R Restaurant Group and host of the Tech Chef podcast, which you can find in all the places you find good podcasts and at hospitalitytech.com, the hospitality technology website. Skip, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate the time here today.